Hey YouTube, how you doing? Brother John here, third proverb, aka Modern Deism. Hope everybody's doing well. This is take two video response to the Edge. My last video was getting a little redundant. I'm hoping to get some more information here. This is the Jim, the Edge 012, and our ongoing discussion about deism. Jim, I have no problem with going on with this discussion. I see your sincerity of heart, and I know you're not coming at me antagonistically or trying to attack. You're just trying to have a better understanding. I see that, and I have no problem as long as this goes on. Fine, as long as it just doesn't get redundant. So I'll express a little of my frustration. Is that the beginning of my last response, my first part, I started off with a quote from Thomas Paine. And in a nutshell, what that quote said was that as soon as something is questionable in the Bible, it ceases to have any kind of authority as being the inerrant Word of God. Fix the camera here. So then a lot of things come into question. And that's where the point from reading more of the Bible and studying, that the conclusion I come to is that it is not inerrant. So you come from that presupposition that it is true, that everything is there true. So when we discuss Jesus and stuff, of course, this is what Jesus said, and then you have the all or nothing proposition, or whatever, any other doctrine that someone might bring up. So that's a little my frustration on, because I'm coming from a different viewpoint. Now, see, my worldview has changed. So it contradicts your worldview, and and you can't understand that. And I understand where you're coming from because I was there. So to get into this other thing about how could I be attacking different doctrines as if I never knew these things because I used to teach and preach them. Well, Jim, a lot of people change their viewpoints upon further study and whatnot. It happens all the time. Viewpoints change. And specifically when you come to the idea of hell, when I look at the word hell and look at the background and mythology influence, Greek mythology influence of hell, and it being Hades and Tartarus, I don't see it as this eternal punishment thing. I also see it as unreasonable for people to suffer infinitely for finite crimes. Now, let me also add that many Christians who their Christianity would be questionable to some. Many Christians also question the idea of this eternal hell. They question the deity of Christ, and yet they still call themselves Christian. But their viewpoints have changed. So now this all or nothing proposition about Jesus, the question that comes is, if I need Jesus to be saved, what am I being saved from? And your answer will probably be from hell, which is most people's answer. A hell that I don't believe exists as many portray it to be. So if there's no hell to be saved from, there's no need for salvation. What I do think the message is of Christ and throughout the Bible is a message of redemption, or a message of saving oneself from themselves. Saving oneself from being selfish, self-centered, self-destructive. That is how I see the message, the theme throughout the Bible. And again, I don't need to believe every single thing in the Bible to get that message. Just like I explained in my earlier video about getting truths from other religions or even fairy tales. As far as the sermons from nature, you were addressing Jordan more. Uh, I will clarify. As I watched Jordan too, and I did not get what you were getting. He wasn't. I don't. He was not saying that we were equivalent to animals. Neither would I say that. All I think we're both saying is that we can get lessons from nature, just like the example he gave of the squirrel. And another analogy. We can look at a beaver who builds a dam, and we've learned how to build a dam. We've observed birds and insects and learned to create different aircrafts just from watching the design in nature. So we learn technologies from observing nature, and we learn life lessons from observing nature. I see nature as an example, just like an artist or a composer of music is an expression of that artist or composer or an author of a book. It's an expression. You cannot fully know that person, but you can get an idea from that expression of who they are. And that's the same with the Bible. But I don't see God as the author of the book. I see man has been the author of the book. Making certain interpretations or having certain inspirations, perhaps, giving historical accounts, whatever. But again, there's many things that are questionable in there that cannot make it God, that God wrote it. Which always I always wondered the question, why didn't Jesus write a book? And why wasn't the book more preserved? And why wasn't it told through an angel in a dream that these are the things to write down, and it's concrete? Or not? Why not write it in stone? So from the hand of God, so all these contradictions and stuff in the Bible cannot be something called the Word of God, who is all powerful and knowing and perfect. And see, that's another thing. Christians like to say we can know God through Jesus Christ. But no one can fully know God, because no matter what belief you're in, we still have a finite mind trying to understand an infinite. And to say that we know would be arrogant. And that's why I like deism, is that I'm not stuck into one text, that I can grab truths from various places in seeking of knowledge of God. And I do not, by any stretch of the imagination, say that I know it all. That would be very arrogant and ignorant. It's a free-thinking philosophy, as Jordan says. We have that freedom to do that. And I enjoy that freedom, actually. And for the loving compassion of God that Christianity professes would put somebody in hell because maybe they were sincere people, loving people, but maybe had a confusion about Jesus, and is willing to send them to hell. Doesn't seem like the compassionate, loving God that is professed. That's probably going into a whole nother discussion. So I don't accept this all or nothing proposition. If you want to give it to me that way, then it would be nothing, unfortunately. But I think there is an in-between game, and that is deism. Many other beliefs accept different ideas of Jesus, and that's their belief system. Hopefully I have a quick time for a quick analogy here. Jim, we all have heard the saying, to see the forest from the trees. If a person is in a forest surrounded by redwoods, they tend to believe that the whole forest is redwood trees, until you're able to come out of that forest and see that there are other trees, pine trees, evergreen trees, apple trees, orange trees, which I had the opportunity to do that, to be taken out of the system, given questions, and to study, to see that there are other options. Until you're willing, or anyone else is willing to do the same, the forest is going to be full of redwood trees. I hope this explains. If not, we'll do another video. Take care, Edge. God bless you. Grace.